The continuum of engagement details some ways that children can engage in learning, and what we wanted to do was have a way of breaking down those levels of engagement so that we could evidence the small but really incredibly important steps that learners with complex additional support needs make, so we can recognise and celebrate those. And it really helps us in planning next steps because we know where you are and we know what that next small step could look like in terms of engagement. The continuum of engagement is broken into 3 stages. A stage where we talk about experiencing activities, so we're encountering, noticing and showing some interest in activities that have been presented. The next stage is actively engaging, so there is more interaction around it, they're responding to the people or events or objects that are presented, focusing attention, participating actively and initiating some of the activities when they have had repeated experience of that. The final stage is applying and extending that learning, so they demonstrate some understanding of what the learning is, they're consolidating that learning and they can extend that into unfamiliar settings and contexts. The continuum of engagement allows you to identify where a child is learning currently and plan the next steps for them. Now, not every child will move through the continuum in a regular or linear way. They may not start at the very beginning and they may not need to get to the end of the continuum in order to have shown success and have achieved a milestone or an outcome. For some of the foundation milestones, the skill will either be present or absent, for example, showing a reflex response to a stimuli. However, what you would want to track there is consider how consistent or frequently that response occurs. The continuum of engagement wouldn't be effective for that. However, when we look at the pre-early level milestones, and even when we consider early level, that for children with complex additional support needs, the continuum of engagement does allow you to really effectively track and monitor that engagement. We want to provide an optimal learning environment for our learners to make progress. So to do this, we need to think about the types of support we're also providing in order for them to engage as effectively as they possibly can. We need to record and report the types of support that they're given and reference how this support increases the engagement in learning. So we would consider physical support in use of hand over hand or use of equipment to effectively engage, some gestural support in order to prompt, visual supports using objects, photos, pictures or symbols in order to increase independence as much as possible and increase understanding, verbal supports including prompting and cueing, support via technology, and also really importantly thinking about having no support. What we want to make sure is that we identify the optimal level of support. We're not trying to remove support, we're not aiming to get everybody to having no support. What we want to do is provide the optimal amount of support to get the learners to engage the best that they can. It's our goal to make sure that the learner can engage to their optimal level with whatever support that they need. It's equally important to recognise when learners can work independently and no support creates the optimal learning environment. The continuum of engagement has allowed me, when working with pupils, to really identify their strengths and also the gaps that we need to support. I use it really effectively in writing IEP targets to make sure that the target is relevant and meaningful, and also then that means that the target can remain for as long as necessary because I can show progression within that.